Oklahoma's own News 9 starts now.
It is the first time a criminal charge has been brought against a former U.S. president.
Prosecutorial misconduct is their new tool.
It has to do with the payment of hush money to Stormy Daniels.
The president will be required to surrender someplace in Manhattan.
This is an unprecedented moment in history.
Certainly is an unprecedented moment as former President Donald Trump is officially charged in a hush money case.
This is the first time a sitting or former president has faced criminal charges. And we have live team coverage of the former president's indictment from around the state and across the country.
And we start with our D.C. Bureau Chief Alex Cameron to walk us through how Oklahoma's congressional delegation is taking the news tonight. Alex.
Well, no surprise here, but members of the delegation, those that we've heard from anyway, are highly critical of the indictment. But before I get to their reaction, let me just tell you, since I'm here in D.C., I decided to take a walk over to the Capitol tonight to see if this indictment had sparked any protest over there. Well, what I found was things were very quiet. Police had put metal barricades out a couple of weeks ago just in case. But you can see that they haven't been interlocked. Sightseers were out enjoying the nice evening, walking around peacefully, and it was pretty much the same situation over at the White House. I went over there, and it's all quiet for now anyway. Now, our delegation, not so quiet. 4th District Congressman Tom Cole weighed in with this earlier this evening. This is a sad day for America. In my opinion, the indictment of former President Trump is politically motivated, legally dubious, and unlikely to prevail in court. Senator Markwayne Mullins, an outspoken Trump supporter, he's already endorsed Trump for president in 2024, and he said, in part, radical leftists have been going after President Trump since day one. This sham of indictment is no different. Now, Congressman McCain also put out a statement. He called this a politically motivated witch hunt and a serious abuse of power. The others are likely to weigh in the coming days or so, perhaps when Trump is arraigned and the charges are actually made public. Carl, Amanda?
Yeah, Alex, and talking with Oklahoma's delegation like you did any of them say how this might affect President Trump's presidential campaign in 2024?
Well, Senator Mullin is the only one who's really commented on this. And what he says is, a couple of weeks ago when he hosted Trump at the NCAA wrestling tournament in Tulsa, he said, if Trump's indicted, it was going to make him unbeatable. Well, he had said something similar in his the full tweet tonight. He said, this is a witch hunt which will only make President Trump stronger. So we'll have to see if that's actually true. Amanda, Carl?
And before we let you leave, Alex, because you have great insight being there in D.C., got to know, what do you think? Do you think this will impact the work being done at the Capitol?
Well, Amanda, I think it's actually maybe fortunate that today the House and Senate both adjourned for a 2-week break. They're going back to their home districts now until after Easter. And so by the time they come back, maybe this will have settled down a bit. Plus, they have some really important stuff to be working on when they do get back, the debt ceiling and the budget. So, people here who want to talk politics, that's always there, and some will continue to do that, but they have plenty of work to do here, and they know that. Carl, Amanda, back to you.
All right, Alex, we appreciate your reporting live tonight in Washington, D.C. Well, we are speaking with the attorney who represents adult film star Stormy Daniels.
The former president is accused of giving money to Daniels to hide an affair. Well, News 9's Kristen Weaver tells us what her Tulsa-based attorney has to say about the indictment.
Clark Brewster says former President Donald Trump's indictment is something he respects, but he isn't celebrating.
You have to respect the people that follow him, and so I feel very bad for those people, and I feel bad for him and his family. But
Brewster has been representing Stormy Daniels for a few years and says she wants the truth to be told.
Well, she's very funny, she's very quick-witted, she's very smart, and I think more than anything, she's been driven by the idea that she wants the truth to be known.
Brewster says he respects the decision from the grand jury and adds that no one is above the law.
This grand jury spent a good deal of time going carefully through the evidence, and made a decision based upon the law that there was a crime committed, and I have respect for that.
He says he's tried to remain out of the media in recent months to let prosecutors do their jobs, something Daniels asked him to do, and he has faith that truth will come out at the end of this process.
Maybe this is a situation where truth will carry the day. And I wanted to do a local piece because I want to express clearly that there's no joy in seeing the president indicted.
Kristen Weaver, Oklahoma's Own, News 9.
In my case, every piece of my personal life, financial life, business life, and public life has been turned upside down and dissected like no one in the history of our country.
Former President Trump there at a rally in Waco, Texas this past weekend.
The president has always maintained his innocence. Our Jordan Fremstead spoke with a local attorney about the case against the former president.
Yeah, Carl and Amanda, it is likely Trump and his attorneys will throw everything they have at this case to avoid a trial. The attorney I spoke to said that there were questions about the statute of limitations with this case, and he said Trump's visit to the White House, or his trip to the White House as president, is the reason the state of New York was able to charge him today.
Donald Trump made history on Thursday when he became the first former U.S. president charged with a crime. A New York grand jury indicted Trump on allegations related to a hush money payment to actress Stormy Daniels.
That $130,000 should have been reported as a campaign contribution and not hidden as legal fees.
Oklahoma City legal analyst and attorney Ed Blau says the reason today's news was possible is because of one thing.
If Donald Trump had paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 and reported it on his campaign forms, that would not be an issue.
The statute of limitations is 3 years, but Trump moved to the White House and then to Florida.
And therefore, the statute of limitations theoretically is told, and therefore he can be prosecuted.
The case has a long way to go, and it's a lot different from a typical indictment.
This isn't a situation where an arrest warrant is going to be issued and the marshals are going to pick him up. He's going to surrender himself at the jail in Manhattan.
Some elements remain the same.
His fingerprints are going to be taken, his mugshot's going to be taken, and he's going to be released pending his next court date.
Obviously, we don't know what the charges are, but what could he face in terms of a consequence?
Assuming he's ultimately indicted for a felony, the maximum penalty is 4 years.
Blau says this is unlikely. The more likely outcome is a plea agreement to probation. A trial would have to convict Trump for the jail time to become a factor.
Now, as far as the court case itself, Blau says that court cases in the state of New York move really slow, and that's in a normal situation. Obviously, there's no precedent for what we've experienced today, and he anticipates this case to take at least a year and a half. We're live in downtown Oklahoma City. Jordan Fremstead, Oklahoma's Own, News 9.
Jordan, thank you. And in a statement, President Trump saying today in part, quote, "This is political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history," end quote. As the former president insists on his innocence, some have questioned whether or not he can be on the ballot for president in 2024.
News 9's Angelicia Bruton has more on whether he can run again and why the situation might actually help his cause.
Legal analyst Irvin Box says former President Donald Trump being indicted doesn't have much to do with whether or not he can be elected president again. In fact, he believes it could be his ticket in.
Box tells me Trump is facing a state felony charge out of New York. This stems from payments made during the 2016 presidential election. Box tells me there was a violation in New York election laws. Trump allegedly paid hush money to an adult film star ahead of the 2016 election. Box says this is unprecedented and not good for our country. But depending on how things play out, it could be a good thing for Trump's 2024 presidential campaign. If he is not convicted, this could bring in more Trump supporters to the polls.
If it's dismissed, not factually being true, or dismissed because of statute of limitations, I think that would give him a boost as far as some voters out here that have supported him.
Box tells me the next steps for Trump would be getting arraigned.
Box says the former president's attorneys could prolong the investigation, meaning we could get answers soon or as late as the presidential election. In the newsroom, Angelicia Bruton, Oklahoma's Own, News 9.
Well, the fire threat is going to be extremely high tomorrow, even in the metro. We're going to talk about how strong those wind gusts will be coming up.
Also ahead on News 9.
This indictment shows that the law applies to everyone, that no one is above the law.
We hear
hear from the Oklahoma Democrat and Republican parties on the Trump indictment and the state impact.
Reaction to the indictment of former President Donald Trump keeps rolling in tonight from political leaders across Oklahoma.
We are hearing from both sides. News 9's Chris Yu is live at the Capitol with that, and also the possible impact for former President Trump here in Oklahoma. Chris?
Yeah, guys, since the indictment of former President Trump, the Republican Governor Kevin Stitt has not publicly commented, but the Oklahoma Republican Party has released a statement. It says, quote, "Not since Democrat presidential candidate John Edwards was charged and the jury deadlocked has such a charge been brought against an elected official. Independent of whom the official is, the law and precedent is in favor of President Trump. And we believe that this George Soros-backed district attorney should drop this politically motivated case," end quote. Now, the indictment has not stopped Trump from fundraising for his 2024 election bid, and in his previous campaigns, he easily won Oklahoma. The 2020 race saw him winning every county in the Sooner State. That equates to more than 65% of the votes, double President Joe Biden's numbers. In 2016, Trump won every county as well. Tonight, in addition to the Republicans, the Oklahoma Democratic Party also weighed in.
I'm relieved because this indictment shows that the law applies to everyone, that no one is above the law. And I think it's important that Americans see this play out. I'm anxious because I'm not real sure that anything will actually come of it. I'm not, that this cloud over our nation will last for a very long time.
Another lawmaker who has reacted to the indictment is Congressman Josh Burkeen, who represents Oklahoma's 2nd District. He says in part, quote, "Politically motivated witch hunts against President Trump or against any other former president or presidential candidate is a serious abuse of power," end quote. Live at the Capitol, Chris Yu, Oklahoma's own News 9.